I come from Housing Commission, state housing, small country town in Victoria in the south of Australia. And when I was a kid, my father said, you've got to get a job selling something because he didn't have any money. When you're a kid, you don't know you've got no money. So I got a job knocking on doors selling pots and pans and rubber sponges, and I was great at it. And right through my whole teenagehood as a high school kid, I sold pots and pans after hours and on the weekends. I was the king of pots and pans in Australia. Then I started to teach classes on how to sell, and part of the class was how to look at a person and work out by their behaviour what their intentions might be, like what they might do next, which allows you to know what you should say or not say. And that was such an incredibly popular part of that session. That was in the late 1960s. So I decided I'd put this into a book. It was so popular. So in 1976, when I was 24 years old, I put pen to paper and wrote Body Language, How to Read Others' Thoughts by Their Gestures. And that went worldwide, #1. And ever since then, it's been just a non-stop track of human communication books. We've written 18 in total. Yeah, well, I've always been a candidate for some sort of cancer because high energy, high output, high achiever puts you into certain categories, certainly as a male, including prostate cancer, which I diagnosed prostate cancer when I was 47, which is very young. Normally, you don't get it till you're 60 or 70 or 80. But I got it early. If you get it early, you die very quickly. Usually, whatever age you are, you'll live 10% of that time. Yeah, it frightened the hell out of everybody. For me, when it happens to you personally, that's interesting because everything that seemed important before just didn't seem to matter anymore. And the only thing that really mattered was people and relationships you had with them. Cars or houses or anything else just wasn't relevant because you may not drive them again or see them again or live in them again. If we take 100 guys in your condition, we expect that within the next 12 months, about 20% would succumb, which means they died. In the next year, maybe 30 to 40%, and most of the balance would die in the third year without the treatment we're suggesting. And I said to this guy, I said, does anybody live? And he said, well, yeah, he said about 3% of men will live to be 80 and have a heart attack or get hit by a bus. And I said, okay, well, I'll have the 3% group, please. What do I have to do to be in the 3% group? And it's been 24 years so far. You know what? They're still telling me 3 years. Barbara and I we've been married now for 34 years. We'd been married for 10 years at the time. And Barbara had one son from a previous marriage and I had 3 kids. And we didn't have any kids together. We thought, well, when we die, there'd be no evidence that we ever lived other than books. So we said, well, maybe we'll talk about having kids. It was a bit late because she was 42 and I was 53, which is not bad for guys. And I'd had my prostate removed and 140 doses of radiation. So my sperm was well fried into the next future. So I had nothing going. We found out about this experimental group who'd done this advanced version using IVF. What they do in simple terms, this is gruesome if you're a bloke, is they take your testicles out and then they unravel them because it's just like a pizza. Then they flatten it out with a hammer, still connected. Then they go through with a special microscope and they hunt for where DNA is made because even though you don't have any sperm is just a courier that takes your DNA to an egg, but you still produce DNA. We did these cycles of harvesting my DNA, putting in her eggs, and she birthed Brandon, which they're absolutely amazed because they said the chance of that were less than 3%. And we finished up with one other fetus embryo left over, which we knew it was a girl because they'd done all the tests. It was a blue-eyed blonde. And she went into the fridge, into cryosuspension. But Barb's got a couple of sons now, but no daughter. And so in the back of her mind, this thing's turning over, as it does with women for years. And she's talking about this one in the fridge and what we could do. And eventually I said, okay, you can have the girl if I can have a yacht. So we did a deal. It was a handshake and I got a yacht. And because the statistical chance of conceiving Bella were less than half of 1%. Because now she's like in her mid-40s, she's 45, 46. And I thought, I'm going to win here. And despite all the odds, like she was absolutely convinced this was going to happen. There was no way known this could not happen. Anyway, Bella's now, she's 16 in 3 weeks' time. And she's Brandon's twin sister because they were conceived the same egg bat, same DNA sperm at the same time. And she's actually older than him. So his younger sister is actually his older sister, and they're twins, which is all hard to get your head around. I wanted to know, how do you snap freeze something and then 3 years later unfreeze it? Now it's a living, walking human being. How do you do that? And they really didn't know. There are some animals that can naturally do that, the wood frog in the Arctic. And so I thought, well, why couldn't they do it with humans? And it turns out they were. A place in America called Alcor in Phoenix, Arizona was the first to start doing this back in the 70s. And they had about 600 people who were frozen, some famous people frozen in their units. So Barbara and I jumped on a plane. We went to Phoenix and had a look at this, how they do it. It was quite fascinating. They've been able to do it with small animals and embryos. They haven't done it with humans yet because they haven't quite got the technology, but it's that far away. And so that's what we decided, well, why not live as long as you want to? And I could never work out why so many people say to me, oh, I have one life, that's enough for me. What? It's enough? Then I'll look at some of their lives and go, yeah, if I had your life, I'd give up too. But if your life is exciting and fulfilling and thrilling and it's got the ups and downs that we all have, why wouldn't you want more for as long as you choose? And maybe forever. The process of getting into cryogenics is they turn you into glass. It's called vitrification. So it doesn't expand or contract. You get turned into glass, which is what happens with fetuses, what happened to Bella. And when the time's right, they unfreeze you and theoretically, you're running around again. When we come back, when they've worked out how to do this, which is not that far off, then we'll come back probably as digital, as an icon on a computer. So you don't come back as a baby, which people think you do. It's like we've put you on pause. And then we transfer, because the thing that makes you, you, is your brain. It's your electrical connections, your memories. That's everything else is just an organism that most parts can be grown on the back of a rat. And we can grow your new nose, new lungs, new tongue, whatever you like. They're very close to growing your new body. And so with mind downloading, they just take a copy, put it on a computer, and that's very, very close. So that's how cryonics evolved for us, by the fact that we decided to have kids, and I saw these embryos going into this cryosuspension, and I thought that was an incredible process. And why couldn't you do it with a human? Well, pretty soon they will.